Welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talks Astros. Find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can you find you at?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on Twitter and at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros.
All right, we have a special guest, Jake Asman of the from 97.5. How you doing, and where can they find you on Twitter?
Twitter's just my name, guys. At Jake Asman. Big fan of the podcast. Been listening for a long time, and thanks so much for having me.
All righty, so we're here to talk about the Astros. And once again, it wasn't as big of a victory as it was the other on Monday night, but it's still a victory over the Angels team. That is not a very good team right now. They're missing their big two horses and Anthony Rendon and Mike Trout. But this is still a team that was pretty close to being 500 for most of the season. And so the Astros are taking care of business. The White Sox lost. The A's lost. So the Astros are getting they lowered the magic number down to 4. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about what happened with the Rays and what the Astros need to do to possibly catch that number 1 seed. We'll talk about what's going on with the batting order. There's so much that we got to talk about in this episode of Locked On Astros podcast. And whatever we don't get a chance to talk to this week, we can always address on Spotify Green Room. This episode is brought to you by Spotify Green Room. Download the app and join us this week, probably on Friday or Saturday night, to get in on the action. And let's go and get started. So this game was, I think, the highlight of this game. I know there's a lot of offense, but when you have Kyle Tucker hitting a home run, that's always a glorious thing. But when you have Aledmys Diaz following him with a back-to-back home run, that's great. But I want to know what's up with everybody on Twitter saying, well, I don't know who's going to make the playoff roster between Aledmys Diaz and Marwin Gonzalez. Really?
Well,
is that even a question?
Well, I think the whole Marwin Gonzalez comes in because everybody is wanting to play the Houston 26-man game, and I don't even know if Marwin is that right person to talk about. And in the ALDS, I know we have Jake here, who's one of the hosts of the Wheelhouse on 97.5, which I really like y'all's name, by the way. It's kind of cool. But the question for me is not those guys, but is it going to be, if Marwin Gonzalez isn't on this roster, is it not necessarily like another bat, like Eric's saying? Could it be another arm? And I know it's a shortened series. Eric likes another bat. Eric likes more position players in a shortened series. Jake, what is your take? What do you think? Do you think Marwin deserves to be on this roster? Is his 202 batting average too glaring? Do you take away a bat out of somebody's hand that could be a more viable option offensively?
Yeah, it's a great question. And by the way, Brett, you're right. We do love the name of the Wheelhouse. And it was funny. Our first show, I saw you tweeting us. I'm like, wait a second. There's this guy on Twitter who's a verified account that also has Wheelhouse in his name. And then I'm like, oh, wait, no, it's the Locked On guy that I always listen to. So kind of funny how it all came together. But yeah, I mean, Marwin's making a case. I mean, obviously, overall, he's had a bad season. And that's why he was available for the Astros to pick up in the first place. But you can't knock what he's done. I mean, he's been a really productive player. And a lot of the hits he's had, and you guys would know this better than anyone, they come in big spots, man. I mean, last night, you go back to that game, and, it's a 2-0 game, and he gets the big hit that, really, blows it open, obviously, against the Angels. So, this is a guy that does have playoff experience. He's won here before. He's obviously beloved by this fan base. So it's an interesting conversation, but, it just shows you how deep the Astros are that, there's a legitimate debate on who should be that 26th person on the roster. So I don't know if there's a wrong answer here. I could argue both sides of it, to be totally honest. So I really think the next, 11 games, however many games there's left, I think that's really going to decide potentially who's on this roster when it's all said and done. But I think Diaz is definitely making it over Marwin. I think, Marwin's going to have to, make it over somebody else. But Diaz's spot on the team is certainly secure in my mind.
Yeah, I don't think that's even a question. What he's done all season, how he's rescued the Astros, especially at third base with Alex Bregman being out for a big chunk of the season, he is permanent ink on that roster. I mean, I don't think that's even a question. Marwin Gonzalez, it's really him or Garrett Stubbs, in my opinion. I think that Jose Siri has made this roster. This gives Chas McCormick an option to be a pinch hitter later in game, and then you can have Jose Siri's speed later as a pinch runner or something like that. So, but Dusty Baker was asked about all the decisions about the playoff roster and if he stresses and loses sleep about it. So this is what he had to say.
Thoughts by Dusty.
It's a waste of time to think about it right now. So basically, he said that he's not going to really worry about it right now. And he says those things have a way of working its way out closer to playoffs. And what he means by that is who you face, like the roster decisions, analytics, that kind of leads into that. And also feel. Like you kind of have the feel at that time, who's hot, who's not. That kind of leads on to who you're going to have on that roster. So it's a waste of time to really talk about it right now. But closer to the season, the end of the season, you're going to have to really look at that. So, Jake, are there any concerns with Zack Greinke being one of the starters, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think there's definitely concern about it. Now, do I think he's going to get a start? Yeah, I'd be surprised if Zack Greinke doesn't ultimately get a playoff start. But we spent a lot of time talking about this on our radio show today. You look at the numbers for Greinke. In his last 3 starts, 2 post-COVID, the one before, he's allowed at least 5 earned runs. And we're talking about, the Diamondbacks and the Rangers roughing him up, 2 of the worst teams in the sport. So I think there has to be a legitimate concern because you're just talking about a guy that's up there in age and you just wonder, all right, is he just done? Like, is he just shot as a player, right, at this stage of his career? I think Dusty will lean on him, though, because he is a veteran, been there, done that. And, he obviously has the most playoff experience out of anyone in the rotation. But it's a fair question to ask. I really think his next couple starts here, he'll probably get at least 1 more, maybe 2 more between now and the end of the regular season. Those could be 2 really big starts into whether or not he does get a playoff start in the rotation. Just because, the fact is there's a lot of other guys that the Astros have to choose from. They have a lot of depth in that pitching staff, as everybody knows.
Yeah, they do. And that's what I think is tricky is we're not playing checkers anymore. We're playing chess. And this is very much you want to have the men on the mound who are going to give you the best opportunity to win your next World Series. Greinke's not going to be the guy that comes across as you disrespected me as a pro. I feel like he believes the Astros believe in his stuff. And I don't think any player on this roster would want to be in a position to hurt the team rather than help the team. With that said, I just don't see with the old school mentality of Dusty Baker, talking with Strom and the pitching coaches where they leave Greinke out. I think if you put Greinke out there and you have worries about him, you have him on a short leash. And you have someone, if you don't have Urquidy starting, you have someone like Jose Urquidy, someone behind ready to come in because Urquidy is solid. This guy manned up in 2019, went into the World Series and just pitched an absolute great game. With no experience. And so you've got guys like this to back him up. And you've got this lineup 1 through 9. And look at Martin Maldonado heating up. Good Lord, if our catcher heats up, there's no stopping this offense. So the Greinke thing may not be as glaring of an issue if we bang out 8 or 9 runs per game. But that is something that you have to really consider. Does he or does he not start?
Hey, Brett, we need to make good on a little promise we made on Twitter. You're Mark Berman, and I'm Zack Greinke. So go ahead.
Hey, Zach, this is Mark Berman with Fox 26 Houston. And we know recently that you were on an extended stint with the COVID protocol. How did you fare during COVID protocol? Did it affect you?
I was okay.
Okay. So do you think that this sickness, that this, whatever you had going on, was it tough for you to handle?
I'm fine.
Okay, so Zach, so do you think going forward that in the playoffs this is going to be something that's going to affect your performance?
No.
Insane.
That's not exactly what happened today, but we're just giving an illustration. He was basically asked. He said, "Yeah, I tested positive," and then he said, "Did you get sick at all?" And he said, "No." And it was like he just kind of looked away and just said no. But you just root for a guy like that, and I really hope that he's had success in this. And so, guys, let's talk a little bit about Spotify Green Room.
Yeah, so Spotify Green Room is changing the way we talk about sports. It's the first social audio platform made for sports fans. The app is free to download, and once you are in, you can talk to myself, H-Town Wheelhouse, or Eric the Man Huysman, and you can follow both of us, and he's at Eric Huysman on this app. It's a beautiful thing because not only do you get to listen, you get to come on stage and be a part of the show. We feature you. Your voice gets shared all over the world, all over the universe, wherever they hear Spotify Green Room. It's a perfect place. You can talk with superstars. It doesn't matter who. You can join the MLB, the NFL, the NHL room, whatever sports you're into. Be sure to tune in this weekend, Friday or Saturday each week. Eric and I go on. And if you go ahead and join the app, follow us, you'll get a notification when we go live so that you know that we are going to hang out with you, our listeners, part of Locked On Astros Nation, when you join the conversation to the place that is changing the way that we talk about sports. That's Spotify Green Room.
Hey, Jake, in a second, we're going to talk about the Rays and the White Sox and what I'm projecting they're going to finish in the season. But I wonder what Bet Online is projecting them to finish.
You know, Bet Online is back and better than ever. The gridiron, as teams are back to another football season. We have the Houston Texans, the juggernaut, with Davis Mills at the helm for the next month, unfortunately. Who do they say the Texans are going to beat? Well, you know what? I'm not the expert. These guys are. With an updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests, betonline.ag continues to be the number one source for everything football. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 100% welcome bonus. That's double your initial deposit just for signing up. Don't forget to use a promo code NFL100. From football, basketball, boxing, baseball, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage and go look for the amazing offers for the 2021 season. Bet online, the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline.ag, your online sportsbook experts. Promo code Locked On.
All right, so guys, I'm not going to say the Astros have clinched the 2 seed in the AL, but it's pretty darn close because the White Sox now have an 85-66 record. The Astros have a 90-61 record. I'm predicting that the Astros are going to go 7-4 the rest of the way. They don't seem to like to do sweeps, so that's assuming they lose one game in each series. Because they don't like sweeps. So in order for the White Sox to catch up, even if the White Sox go 11-0, they're going to finish 96-66. So they will not be able to catch the Astros. And they're kind of in a little funk right now. And so I think the White Sox have no way to catch up to the Astros. Now, the question is for you, gentlemen, is can the Astros catch the Rays? The Rays now are 93-59. They just lost again today. So in order for the Astros to catch them, the Rays have to go 3-7 over the last 10 games. It's possible mathematically, but do you think, Jake, the Rays, as good as they are, will go 3-7 down the stretch?
I don't, just because they haven't done it really all year, but it's possible. I mean, you know, the Astros got to just keep winning and put the pressure on the Rays because you obviously play them 3 games to end the season, you know, right at the end there, right? You play, you know, six of your last 9 are with the A's. The other 3 are with the Rays. So, you know, all the Astros could do is keep winning and maybe put pressure on Tampa at the end of the season, just kind of see where you're at. And, you know, Tampa, I think their last series is with the Yankees, and the Yankees are going to be desperate to try and get into the playoffs then. So, you know, they're probably going to be going all out to get in. So maybe the Rays, if they have things locked up, they don't go all in to try and win some games at the end. They're trying to set their rotation. So, do I think it happens? No, but it's possible. I mean, the Astros got to just keep winning. They got to beat up on the Angels of the world and actually sweep them instead of just, giving away the final game of the series like they've done to so many bad teams this year. So, they win. You never know. They just got to keep winning, though. That's the first thing.
So, Jake, to quote Lloyd Christmas, so you're saying there's a chance.
Yes, exactly. There's a chance. Do I think it happens? No, guys. But look, I mean, if you Eric, you did the math. I'm not a math guy at all, so thank you for doing that because I can't count. But if they keep winning, it kind of takes care of the rest. So that's kind of what you got to do if you're the Astros. Beat up on the bad teams on your schedule and make it interesting when you do play the Rays for those 3 games.
Yeah, I think that may be a preview of what is going to be another ALCS between the Rays and the Astros. And I don't know, though, that I know the Astros would love to have home field advantage during the ALCS, but for the first round going into it, I don't know that I want the Astros in the number 1 seed because you're going to play the winner of that Boston-Toronto or Toronto and New York or New York and Boston or whatever. I just something about the wild card team that kind of worries me. I get a little superstitious about playing that team. I would rather the Rays play that team. I'd rather the Rays get beat up by maybe the Blue Jays or whatever, and then have to really jockey for position and what they're going to do against Houston. I think bottom line is this: whether the Astros have home field advantage or not going into the ALCS, that they are the clear favorite, I believe, to win, even with the highest scoring offense being in Tampa Bay. Like I said, I mean, when you got guys like Kyle Tucker heating up, you got guys like Altuve hitting the cover off the ball, you've got guys, Carlos Correa, the big guys are doing what they're supposed to do. The young guys are just crushing the ball. And again, Martin Maldonado, back-to-back games with a home run. He's got 12. He's 2 away from his career high, which in 2017 with the Angels, he had 14 home runs. And he said, I'm hitting better than I've ever hit in a long time, and I feel better than I've felt in a long time. And so that is a great sign. So watch out, AL. Here we come.
Yeah, for sure. And I have a record by the Angels by stats. Tonight marks the 13th time this year that Shohei Ohtani homered, but his team ended up losing by 4+ runs. There you go.
Hey, maybe instead of the 27 jersey with no pitching on the back, I need to get a 17 jersey, Angels jersey that says no pitching. That ball club has been an abject failure, taking one of the most talented players in all of baseball, and Mike Trout. The Angels are to Mike Trout what the Houston Texans have been to J.J. Watt and Andre Johnson's career with the Texans. And that is a direct comparison, and it's a shame because a player of that talent in Ohtani should be on a team that's contending for a title.
Hey, can either one of y'all guess which Cub did that in 1999?
Is it Sammy Sosa?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's probably too easy.
Yeah. I've said this before. I've said it with Trout, but it applies with Ohtani. Having Shohei Ohtani on the Angels is like owning the Mona Lisa, but displaying it in your garage. It's just a waste. And that's kind of what the Angels have been. They have wasted a generational talent thus far in Mike Trout, and Ohtani's going to run away with the MVP, and they're going to be a 4th place team or 3rd place team in their own division. They're terrible.
Yeah, so Carlos Correa just scored his 100th run on the season. So this is the first Astros shortstop in history to score 100 runs. I know the Astros. I know we had Dickie Thon back in the days, but otherwise we've had a whole bunch of shortstops that like the Tim Bogars of the world, and that weren't really big offensive talents.
You mean Big Adam Everett's not a big offensive talent?
Sorry, I totally forgot about him. But yeah, so this is a big deal for Carlos Correa. He has a 7 WAR, or he came in today's game with a 7 WAR. I'm sure it went up a little bit. You know what Carlos Correa is seeing? He's seeing a lot of money right now. And so I know that the Astros are not supposed to talk to him. Carlos Correa doesn't want anybody to talk to him, but this guy is going to get his money this offseason. And I don't want to really bring the mood down, but do you see any chance, Jake, of him coming back?
Yeah, I do. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. He's definitely gone. I just think it depends on, one, how this year shakes up and kind of what the market is for him. He's certainly going to get paid a lot of money. So the Astros are going to have to give him a massive contract if they want to keep him. It could be double what they initially offered him, which we all know he was never going to accept in the first place. But you got to see how the rest of the offseason kind of plays out with some of these teams, big market teams that are in the mix to spend. There's a lot of shortstops out there. Now, you can make a case he's the best one, so he'd be the guy that get paid. But I don't think it's out of the question. And if you're the Astros, you could always get away with overpaying your own. Like if you give out a long-term deal to a free agent, it doesn't work out. Yeah, that to me is a lot worse. Like when the Mets paid David Wright and that contract ended up being a disaster because he couldn't stay on the field. Like no Met fan regrets the Mets doing it. Like he's your guy. He's the face of the franchise. Like Carlos Correa, he was the captain of the team, right? And then Correa is basically the de facto captain of the Astros, especially kind of emerging as a leader post scandal. So that's the guy that you would overpay if you have to. Like if it means if he helps you win another championship over the course of that contract, like you're not going to worry about what you're paying him, in the 9th or 10th year of the deal if he helps you win another ring or so. So. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion he's gone. I think we got to see how the rest of the year plays out. But, there's an argument to be made to let him walk and play Bregman at short and sign a third baseman, or there's a bunch of things they could do, as you guys have discussed on the pod before. So, right now their championship window is open. He's a big part of it. You got to see how the rest of the year plays out and go from there.
Hey, Brett, do you think that Carlos Correa will accept Built Bars in payment or no?
No, he would not accept Built Bars. I mean, if he didn't accept 6 years, $120 million. Well, here's the thing, because, Built Bars aren't necessarily about being paid. It's about what you do in the gym. Now, because of his work ethic, he would accept that as a recovery like I do when I work out. Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar in the land. It is wrapped in 100% chocolate. It is great for the healthy, conscious guy or girl. So whether you're trying to lose or maintain weight, you need to grab one of these. Why? Because it's got 17 to 18 grams of protein. The calories ranging from 130 to 180 in each bar. 4 to 5 grams of sugar, 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. Amazing flavors, all tasty, all healthy. Grasshopper cookie, which is their take on the mint, on the little thin mints that you get from the Girl Scouts. It's the same taste, same flavor. They've got a kingdom though. They don't just have Built Bars. They have Built Puffs. They have Built Broth. They have it all. So go check out built.com and use the promo code Locked15 for 15% off your order. That's the same discount that myself and Eric the Man Huysman get. And it's the official protein bar of the USA track and field team, Division I football teams, and many of the Locked On hosts. So check out built.com, use the promo code Locked15 for 15% off your first order.
You know what? If I had DirecTV, I could have probably watched the game tonight. So tell us a little bit about the DirecTV.
Yeah, does this sound familiar, Jake? Listen to this. You've got a device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows. You're watching sports highlights on the phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friends to log in for the good stuff. Well, I want to tell you guys about a simple way to get all your entertainment that you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings you live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. The best part, there's no annual contract. There's no catch here. To get rid of the clutter and the confusion, get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more about DirecTV.com. That's DirecTV.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package. Eric, before we lead into anything else, I want to kind of piggyback on what you're talking about with Carlos Correa, because I think there's some other factors here that will play a role in whether he stays or goes. Number one, his wife is a Texan. They're about to have their first child, a boy, I believe. And the Correas have really cemented themselves into this, ingrained themselves into this Houston community. Carlos Correa's best friend is Lance McCullers Jr. There are a lot of things, the chemistry he has with Jose Altuve, the chemistry he has with all the players on this team. I think that's going to go well for the Astros, keeping him here in Houston. And it just doesn't make sense to me. Just as a person from the outside looking in, Carlos Correa being in any other jersey. A lot of players, you see them, okay, they change uniforms. They go throughout their career, they play for this team or that team. Not Carlos Correa. The only thing I think that keeps those things from being a factor is someone like Jeremy Pena. I don't know if y'all saw what he did tonight in
Yeah, I was
Sugarland.
just about to bring that up.
Yeah.
That's kind of
Yeah,
Carlos Correa was going to lead into that. So,
okay.
yeah. So I don't know if y'all saw this, but Jeremy Pena hit 3 home runs tonight.
Yes.
3 home runs, and one of them was a walk-off. The last one was a walk-off. And so this kid, after being injured and missing a large portion of the season, over his last 13 games, he's hit 8 home runs, 15 RBIs, batting .453. So if there's a place for him, the Astros could have called him up, but especially with Marwin Gonzalez and Diaz and everybody healthy, there's no place for him. But this kid is showing why the Astros have a good farm system. They don't have the sexy prospects, but they have the deep farm system.
Let me tell you something. All these prospects that are in Sugarland look very good, not just on paper, but in person. They are performing. And Corey Lee already getting a hit in his first game, and Hunter Brown down there. But Jeremy Pena, I'm telling you, him and Pedro Leon, these guys playing shortstop or third or center field or wherever you have these guys, you're going to have to find a spot for them. If Carlos Correa walks, I don't have any issue with a Pena or a Leon being slotted into short. I'm not paying Simeon. I'm not paying some other free agent to come in. If I can't get Correa's deal done, I've got confidence that in right down the road, 25 minutes from Minute Maid Park, I have someone to come in. Now, Pena's glove is great. Pedro Leon is actually the higher rated fielder at 80, and Pena's arm isn't as strong as Correa's, but the kid is a specimen. He looks like a football player in a baseball uniform. Jake, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, you just see the highlights and whatnot. I haven't seen him in person, but look, they got options. There's no doubt. I mean, you'd like to keep Correa. He's a great player. But if they don't want to go 10 years, okay, I get it. Then you better reinvest the money in other areas of the team, right? Who's pitching next year for this team with Verlander off the books and Greinke off the books, and you still do need to find that true number one ace. I guess we'll see how the playoffs go with Lance likely stepping into that role. So, I see the argument to keep Correa. I see the argument to let him walk and not pay him a 10-year deal if that's what it takes. They got options, though. And, the one thing you could say about the Astros farm system is despite wherever they might rank in different prospect lists, they seemingly have guys that keep coming up, that keep producing. Every year they have a guy that's in the mix for, American League Rookie of the Year, it seems like. So, we're even talking about guys like Jose Siri coming up out of nowhere and being a major contributor to this team. Who would have thought that was going to happen? Or Jake Myers. I mean, the list goes on and on. So you just kind of feel like they'll figure it out. But obviously, I mean, you said it best. Correa is the captain of this team, right? He's the de facto leader. He's been ingrained into the Houston community now for a long time. He was here when this team turned the corner and became a championship caliber team. So you'd like to keep him, especially when you lost George Springer last year and Garrett Cole. You'd like to keep one of your own. We'll find out if they could do it, though. I mean, it really comes down to how much they want to pay him. We could talk about how nice it is that he loves Houston. He's got great chemistry with Lance and loves the fans here. All that's true. But money talks. And at the end of the day, they're going to have to pay him.
Yeah. Money talks more than friendship, honestly. And money's not going to friendships are not going to pay you when you're 80 years old. So that's something that you have to consider as well. So one thing, speaking of pitching, and Dusty Baker earlier said that things will work its way out, like the roster. One thing I want to talk about is Jose Urquidy. He looked great through the first 5 innings today. But then even Chandler Rome, I didn't get to watch it, but Chandler Rome tweeted out that his velocity kind of decreased a little bit in the 5th inning. But then I think he threw like 70 pitches at that point. And then in the 6th inning, everything fell apart a little bit. Do you think that this would be kind of telling Dusty Baker and Brent Strom that maybe he does not need to be one of the starters in the playoffs, or does this they're not going to go that deep with the starters anyway, and so it doesn't really matter if he can only go 5 innings? Jake?
Yeah, I would say Urquidy pitching down the stretch here will be fascinating to see. I think he could start a playoff game. Like, I'd feel okay giving him the ball. I mean, the thing is, though, Eric, and you kind of just alluded to it, like, you have a short leash no matter really who you are in the playoffs, unless your name is Justin Verlander, right? When you just know, hey, he's the ace, get out of the way, he's going to go 7 or 8 innings. They don't have that on this team. Like, even Lance, as well as he's pitched, he kind of labors through 5 1/3, or, maybe gets you through 6 and throws 105 pitches at that point. We've seen that how many times this year with this team. So Urquidy could start a game, but then you got to be ready to piggyback him with another starter or another guy that could come in out of the pen. So all hands on deck come playoff time, no doubt.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing. And like you mentioned earlier, they have options. I think one of the big questions is Odorizzi. Do you give him a start? And I've been talking with a couple people behind the scenes who follow the Astros and the roster moves, and Odorizzi in his seniority plays into, I think, any decisions over someone like Luis Garcia and Urquidy with his struggles. I think you let Odo go 3 or 4 innings, and then you could bring in an Urquidy, which I think would be a very stable 5-inning guy to get you to the 7th or 8th inning. And the great thing is, I think they've got enough guys that if someone falters, they can have someone to come behind them and pick them up, because you've got a guy like Brooks Raley. I mean, 2 months ago, who would have thought we were saying Brooks Raley seems to be this dominant strikeout pitcher? He's found his groove. He's controlling the ball. His slider is just impeccable, especially against left-handed hitters. He's done phenomenal. And so I think where we had a lot of concerns and worries and fears, the Astros seem to be putting stuff together quite nicely. And like I said, we're not playing checkers, guys. We're playing chess. So this is very much going to be, like Eric said very accurately, it's going to be about matchups. It's going to be about feel. It's going to be about who they feel on that day is going to go. And it may be a day-to-day scenario. Okay, this is what happened yesterday. This is what we got to roll out today and go from there.
So, Jake, which team are you the most afraid of facing? I mean, outside of the White Sox, I mean, that's the team we're obviously going to face. Which team, if let's say we get past the White Sox, or just in general, which team are you the most worried about facing?
I would still probably say the Rays, just because I'm done counting them out. I didn't think they were going to be that good this year. I'm like, how could they get better? They lost Blake Snell. They didn't re-sign Charlie Morton. Like, how is this team going to do it again? And they've been the best have been the best team in the American League all year. So I don't know, man. The Astros also struggle when they go to Tampa, right? I mean, no one likes Tropicana Field, and the Astros have had some issues there in the past. So I still would say the Rays, but I mean, it's the playoffs, man. It's a crapshoot. Like, it's really tough. I mean, if they play the Yankees, it's a tough series. Blue Jays with their offense, tough series. Red Sox have been kind of up and down this year, but they still do have the bat. So you could argue any of the teams, but I still would lean Tampa just because they've been the best team all year. So out of respect to them, no one gives the Rays respect. I'll try and do it on this podcast. So I'll say the Rays just because of what they've been able to do all season long.
I think Brett and I have been kind of wanting to stay away from the Blue Jays for one reason, and his number is number 4, because of George Springer, Mr. October, and that's somebody that player can get hot and just kind of control a whole series.
Because a road game for him would maybe feel like a home game, because he's so familiar with Minute Maid Park, and
he probably would get cheered in the first game or in the pregame introductions at Minute Maid. I mean, he probably would get a huge hand from the crowd. I mean, imagine that before a playoff series. Like, when was the last time that's happened? Like, if they play the Blue Jays, he didn't play when they were here, right? So he would get a huge ovation when they do like the lineups at the beginning of the series. Think about that. George Springer, one of the more deadly hitters on the Blue Jays, would get a huge hand from the Astros fans before he tries to kick their ass in a playoff game,
And then he'll hit it leadoff home run, and then everybody would cheer, and they'll be like, wait, we're not supposed to cheer.
Boo.
So that's Yeah, I think I'm more worried about the Blue Jays just because of that, and not just him, but they have a pretty deep lineup overall. I think that the White Sox, they have a very heavy right-handed hitting team, and especially with Zack Greinke in a rotation, that could be issue. He struggled with the right-handers this year. Luis Garcia, briefly, I do want to, before we end the podcast, I do want to talk about the odds for the Rookie of the Year. This is the odds according to betonline.ag. Randy Rosarina is 1-2 odds. Adolis Garcia is 11-4 odds. Ryan Mountcastle is 11-2 odds. Wander Franco is 10-1, and Luis Garcia is 12-1. Do those odds sound right, or do y'all think Luis Garcia should be a little bit better odds?
I think Luis Garcia is kind of on the outside looking in, because typically with these Rookie of the Year scenarios, I mean, the pitcher has got to probably have close to almost 16 to 18 wins, and I think guys like Adolis Garcia, is I think the favorite. A Rosarina you haven't heard much about, but it makes sense because of the name he made for himself in the playoffs. And so will that play in to the factors of those voting of, will that play into their mindset when they vote? I think it's Garcia or a Rosarina. I would not be surprised though if Mountcastle snuck up and got some first place votes. I don't think he would win it. But I just think Garcia's on the outside looking in, although he's had one of the most stellar years that I've seen in a while from a rookie pitcher.
Yeah, Brett, I agree with you. I just think, it's hard, man. I mean, you mentioned Mountcastle. He's a really good player on the worst team ever. So maybe they throw the Orioles a bone, right? It's tricky, though. They're all deserving. I feel like those odds are usually pretty accurate. Garcia has been – he hasn't been as good in the second half as he was in the first half, obviously, for the Rangers. So that's a factor. But it's going to be tough for Luis Garcia to win that award. It's cool that he's in the mix, though. It just goes back to what we were saying, that year after year, the Astros farm system just continues to produce guys that come up and contribute in big ways. And Garcia is, one of the latest examples of that.
I'm really excited about today's game. I guess it's officially today. It's going to be Luis Garcia versus Jansen Junk. So we're going to see what junk ball is.
Jansen Junk. That is great. I'm loving the names they're trotting out. It's like a Bad News Bears scenario.
Yeah. So this Junk has, so we were saying, a 0-1 record with the 2.25 ERA with 4 strikeouts. So he limited experience. But this is another kind of rookie just getting kind of experience. And Garcia, I'm sure they're going to probably limit him to maybe 70 to 80 pitches. They're trying to save his arm for October. So we'll see what happens, but the Astros just need to keep on playing like they're doing. Are they going to score another 10 runs like they did tonight? Who knows? We've seen them kind of, I think I've heard on the radio today that the Astros in the game 1 of a series, they scored 10 or more runs 17 times this year. That was pretty impressive. I mean, that to open a series, that's just crazy. And then that they may not score the next game. And so it just
they didn't falter. I mean, their second game, everyone's like, oh, they're going to score 2 runs. But okay, and this guy Jansen Junk, I don't know, Jake, how old you are, but this kid was born in 1996. I was in college in 1996. But what a great name, Jansen Junk. Like, of course that kid's going to make the major leagues.
It's a great name, you already made the junk ball joke. I mean, it goes without saying, if you're a pitcher, you gotta throw the junk ball, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm sure he got that all through high school and through Little League and everything. But yeah, so Jake, thank you for joining us. Tell us where they can listen to your show and what time your time slot is.
Sure. If you're in Houston, ESPN 97.5 or ESPN 92.5, 3 to 7. So in the afternoon, it's myself, Cody Stutz, and BK Brad Kellner. We're talking Stros every day. We do a segment every single day, 4 o'clock, Stros at 4. So if you're in the car and it's like, oh, it's 4 o'clock. Well, Astros talk every day at 4. We talk Astros and other segments too, obviously, but that's every day, 4 o'clock, Stros at 4. And thanks so much for having me on, guys. It's been a lot of fun. Big fan of the podcast. You guys do a great job covering the team. And nice to stay up late with you and talk Astros baseball.
Alrighty. Well, thank you, Jake, for coming on. And thank you guys for listening. Make sure you keep on subscribing to Locked On Astros on YouTube. And make sure you check out the Locked On Bets podcast. And we'll be back with little sleep tomorrow to cover tomorrow's game and Go Astros. And we'll talk to you tomorrow.